What's up, ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Jack here. Welcome to another video here on the China Crew channel. Today we'll be going over the latest policies for inbound travelers, specifically aimed at quarantine measurements. If you're planning on coming to China anytime in the near future, grab a pen and get ready. We'll lay it out for you exactly what to expect. Now, I've broken these down into regions and we'll go over each area's policies one by one. Just a bit of clarification on the terminology used by the government in case you're not up to speed. Centralized quarantine. A facility where you're kept and checked for symptoms upon arrival. During your stay will have to be monitored to check if you're a carrier. This could be a hotel, a motel, or a resort of some kind. Please note this is going to be at your own cost, including your meals during every day. Community health monitoring. It's where the person has to undergo a further 7 days of self-home monitoring, which is overseen by the community health managers. Temperature should be taken every day and report to the community managers. Home isolation. You're strictly bound to your home and can't leave. If you undergo any symptoms, you should report them to the nearest community health manager. Some areas will also need you to complete a nucleic acid test after your home isolation. Hello? Hello?
Hi, 你好。哎，这吧，有点呀，这是关键的很呀。
Alright, let's get into it. Guangzhou, 14 days of centralized quarantine and 7 days of home isolation. Shenzhen, 14 days of centralized quarantine. Beijing, 14 days of centralized quarantine, 7 days of home isolation, and 7 days of community monitoring. Jiangsu, 14 days of centralized quarantine and then 14 days of home isolation. That's an entire month. Shanghai, 7 days of home isolation and 7 days of community monitoring, or 14 days of centralized quarantining if you can't self-isolate at home. So if you don't have a place to go when you arrive in Shanghai, you are going to have to go to centralized quarantine. Zhejiang, 14 days of centralized quarantine and 7 days of home isolation. Sichuan, 14 days of centralized quarantine. Just like Shanghai, it's a little bit easier. Fuzhou, 14 days of centralized quarantine and 7 days of home isolation. Dalian, 14 days of centralized quarantine, 7 days of home isolation, and 7 days of community monitoring. Again, another month. And this one is the strictest so far. Chongqing, 14 days of centralized quarantine, 7 days of home isolation, and 7 days of community monitoring, during which you are not allowed to take public transport, go to a public gathering, or indoor public areas such as malls or supermarkets. Liaoning, 14 days of centralized quarantine and 7 days of home isolation. Hebei, 14 days of centralized quarantine and 14 days of home isolation. Alright, and then lastly, Shandong, Harbin, Anhui, Tianjin and Zhengzhou, 14 days of centralized quarantine and 7 days of home isolation. Some extra things to keep in mind. Most cities in China require inbound passengers to do a nucleic acid test on the arrival, on the 7th day, and on the 14th day of centralized quarantine. Also, if you're sharing an apartment with someone, they too have to commit to the 7 to 14 day of home isolation. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you liked that video. If you found it informative, smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.